All right, Happy New Year. So, this is going to be 23 life lessons or ideas that I learned from 2023. Now, I've taken the past couple days or so to reflect on this past year, and I sort of wanted to make this video talking about the best concepts or ideas that I sort of learned and applied to my own life, as the end of December was pretty hectic and chaotic. As you can probably see in my office down here, I have Christmas presents all over the place still, as I still have some Christmas exchanges left, but that's neither here nor there. So I wanted to get into this list of 23 things or 23 lessons that I learned in 2023. So I wrote all of these down on my phone. This is going to be a super unscripted video, and let's just dive into it. So the first was that life isn't about the pursuit of happiness, it's about the happiness of pursuit. And I remember hearing this quote on a podcast. Maybe it was Modern Wisdom, or maybe it was Andrew Huberman. I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, I don't know. It was Huberman. It was Andrew Huberman. And so I was thinking about this because everyone knows about the pursuit of happiness, right? But then when you flip it and you realize that it's about the happiness of pursuit, then that becomes incredibly profound. Because so often in life, we are trying to achieve something. We're going after something. We're striving for something. We're trying to get that job or money or house or car that's going to eventually give us happiness. But so many people fall short on this, and you have to realize that the best part of the pursuit is the happiness in the moment. And I've tried really hard to apply this to my life this past year, especially with this whole YouTube channel stuff. As many of you may have known, I've gone through a tremendous amount of turmoil with YouTube when it comes to copyright strikes, getting demonetized, two videos got deleted, and pretty much all my videos getting limited monetization now. And so, for so long, I've wanted to be a YouTuber. For as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be successful on this platform. It was one of my goals in life. And to go through all this chaos, it's disheartening. But also it reminds me that I need to enjoy the process. And it's not just about the pursuit of happiness, it's just having happiness in the pursuit. So in just loving what I'm doing. And that was a great reminder for me in 2023. So the second thing I wrote down was focusing too much on the destination rather than enjoying the journey. So this pretty much piggybacks off of the first idea. And just enjoying the journey of the grind. And the way that I think about this is, imagine you're playing a video game like Final Fantasy or Legend of Zelda, for example. When you're playing the game and you're going through these missions and side quests and your character is getting stronger, more experienced, you're getting better gear and equipment, it's a lot of fun. And the game is exhilarating and it's incredibly exciting. However, once you make it to the final boss and you beat the game, it's almost as if you have this massive dopamine fall off. There's like this massive crash of happiness. And you realize that the best part of grinding and getting all the gear for Link was that it was the journey was the most fun. And so I try to remind myself of that too. So it's not just having happiness in the moment, but just enjoying what you're doing in the moment. And so like my YouTube channel, for example, everyone dreams of wanting to blow up, becoming famous, I guess, or making a ton of money. But being a person who creates videos online, on social media, on a platform like YouTube, it's fun. At the end of the day, when I first picked up a camera and I was having conversations like this to a lens, to a piece of plastic and glass, it was so much fun. And sometimes I forget that. And enjoying this journey that I'm on for wherever YouTube is going to take me is something that I try really hard to appreciate. So 3 was, okay, also these ideas are not in any type of order. They're just sort of scattered. So 3 is the dangers of team mentality. Now, this is something that I talk a lot about on my live stream. And what I mean by team mentality is whenever you have an opinion or you are discussing or debating a topic or idea, it's really dangerous to subscribe to this team mentality that a lot of people fall victim to. Whether it's left or right, red or blue, Apple or Android, Sony or Xbox, Nike or Adidas. Like there's a million teams that people just fall into. And the worst thing that you can do, in my opinion, as a human being, is whenever you are engaging in let's say, a potluck of ideas with a group of people, one of the worst things you can do is just subscribe to one of these ideologies. Because when you subscribe to team mentality, it's almost as if we already know what you're going to say, right? If the topic of smartphones or technology comes up, if you're one of those Team Apple people, we already know what you're going to think of Samsung or the Google Pixel or any of these other smartphone devices. And so I try to be very balanced when it comes to this, and I try really hard to not fall into this like team mentality idea, regardless of if it's like some type of materialistic good, if it's political, if it's my stupid phone. I use an Android, don't really care. And so, yeah, it's just a dangerous mindset to have. And it's very common nowadays because you can find your tribe so easily on the internet, for example. If there is a certain idea that you subscribe to and that is part of your identity, it's very easy to find an echo chamber on Facebook, on Reddit, on anywhere on the internet. And then all of you just converge in this one thought bubble and you get trapped. And that's pretty much what team mentality is. It's one giant trap. So that's why I try my best to stay away from it. So that was 3. This might take a while. I got to hurry up, or else this video is going to be like 2 hours. So let's see. 4 was you don't have to voice your opinion on everything. Now this is incredibly important for 2023, especially with all the craziness that happened, whether politically or globally or economically. Economically, is that a word? And this will also remain true in 2024, especially when we get into this presidential debate stuff. And when I say that you don't always have to share your opinion, is that me, for example, I'm just some dude on the internet, and I have my live streams every week. And there is a specific reason why I never voiced my opinion on the Russia and Ukraine situation. There's a specific reason why I never voiced my opinion on the Israel and Palestine situation. I'm some guy living in North America who has never been to any of those aforementioned countries. I've done my best to do some research, do a lot of reading, and try to educate myself on what's going on, what's happening. But that doesn't mean I'm qualified to share my opinion on anything that's happening in these altercations. So, again, it's incredibly important. You don't have to voice your opinion on everything. You don't have to have an opinion. And when people ask me, because I get asked questions all the time, I just say, I don't have an opinion, or I'm still thinking about it, or I don't know. And it's okay to say you don't know. For whatever reason, so many people nowadays think that's weakness. If someone asks you a question and you say you don't know, you feel like you're insufficient. You feel like you're weak. You feel like you're not smart, or whatever that thing is that you're lacking. But again, you don't have to share your opinion on everything, especially like myself. If I've never been to any of these countries, I don't really know anything or have any friends that's been there or who have lived there or who have come from there. So that's pretty much that. So number 5 was, this is an interesting one. This is kind of like an older idea. Fill the dash on your tombstone. So what does that mean? So what is the dash on the tombstone? So on your tombstone, it's going to read the year that you're born. So for me, 1984. Then it's going to have a dash in the middle to the year that you die. And in my opinion, the purpose of life, or one of the biggest reasons to do stuff on this earth, is to fill up that dash with as many memorable experiences and friendships and interactions and conversations as you possibly can. Fill up that dash on your tombstone. And there's that really old cliche saying that you hear all the time, is that everyone will die, but not everyone has lived. And this sort of resonates the same sentiment. Fill up that dash. You only live once. Imagine if you're lucky enough to just escape cancer, avoid a tornado or a hurricane, maybe hopefully you don't get hit by a car or get some crazy disease. Like, there's a million things that could just end your life abruptly. And so with the time that you have, make the most out of it and fill up the dash on your tombstone. Which was that? That was 5. So 6 is patience and compound interest is the key to wealth. Patience and compound interest is the key to wealth. Now, this is a tough one to understand because most people will gloss over this term, compound interest. This is a very interesting word or term where everyone kind of knows what it is, but human beings were not intellectually designed to fully grasp the exponential growth that compound interest has. If you've ever been into finance or was interested in saving your money or trying to figure out how much money you need for retirement, and you've used one of those, let's say, index fund, saving fund, return on investment calculators, and you kind of can put in the amount you deposit, the interest rate, whatever, and it sort of shows you the growth over time. And when you see money that compounds on itself over decades, it gets ridiculous. It's like the amount you contribute is like this, and the compounding interest is like this crazy hockey curve of a graph. It's like human beings can't even comprehend or understand what this is. And so I'm very into personal finance. It's one of my sort of side passions that I really enjoy. I have a bunch of finance books over there. I don't think you can see my bookshelf, but yeah, a bunch of finance books over there. I love finance, money, investing in general. And when you read about guys like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, who just passed away recently, everyone thinks that, oh, Warren Buffett's so lucky. He started so young. He was investing at the right time. He got lucky with the picks or the stocks or companies he invested in. And all of that's wrong. If you look at Warren Buffett's true net worth and you graph it out, his secret is time. It's patience. And it's allowing compound interest to take place over multiple decades. And that's it. That is his true secret. And I remember there's some stat like it was like 90% of his wealth was generated in the past 10 years of his life. Like something crazy like that. Again, it's this idea of compound interest that human beings can't really grasp or comprehend. We sort of know what it is, but it's almost like impossible to completely understand and replicate and describe. And that goes hand in hand with patience. So for me, when it comes to personal finance, I try to diversify my income. I have a lot of different assets with my sort of, I don't know what you would call it, not wealth. I'm definitely not wealthy, but my net worth spread amongst many things, and I wait. And that's pretty much it. You need to have the patience to stay in the game long term. And that is the secret to wealth. 7, my house is the only material possession which yields long-term happiness. Okay, so this is an interesting one. I remember when I did this, I was thinking materialism is stupid. However, I was trying to steel man that statement. And I was thinking, are there any materialistic possessions that actually have made me happy year over year? Are there any shoes, my computer maybe, TV, car, video game system? Is there anything like that? And the answer to all those questions was no. But then when I came to this house right here, it does make me happy. That initial excitement has worn off. The novelty of like a brand new home, it definitely dissipates over time, just like anything. Just like buying a new pair of shoes and you don't want to like scuff them up, right? And you're very careful with them, but then 6 months later, you don't really care. You're just kicking rocks. But this house, for me, it has yielded improved happiness year over year. And the reason for that is because of my kids. I do not care to show off to any people, but oh, hey, I got a house, like look at me. I don't care about anything like that. What makes me really happy is knowing that I have enough rooms where all my kids, well, my two kids have their own room, and I have a backyard, which is behind that wall, that they can play in. And at the end of the day, as a man, as a father, that brings me an incredible amount of happiness. Knowing that my kids will have this memory of growing up in this place, this home, which will be part of their childhood. Because I had that too growing up. I lived in a very tiny house with no garage, one washroom with my mom, my dad, and my brother. And I lived there for 30 years. And it's like this incredibly vivid memory of good times, birthday parties, barbecues, poker games, sporting events, like family meals. It's just awesome. It's like a great memory that I have of my childhood. And I want to give that back to my kids. And so when I think about what I spend my money on, my materialistic possessions, this right here is the only one where when I come back to or when I wake up in, it makes me happy, knowing that I have some piece of real estate that I can share with the people I love. Let's go to 8. Oh, this is a rough one. Becoming a father is the most difficult, exhausting, and frustrating decision in the world. So this is true. If you are someone that is thinking about having kids, maybe you really want to in the future, or maybe you're on the fence, this is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make in your entire life because it is time consuming, it's frustrating, and it's incredibly, incredibly exhausting. Even right now, it's almost midnight, and the only reason I've been able to film this video right now is because the kids finally went to bed. And I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So I'm in the stages where you barely sleep. When you have a newborn, they wake up every 3 hours. And it's so hard. Like, I don't even know how to explain this. If you want to be a good father and be there for them and try to help and provide, I don't know, anything, just try to help, even just helping. My wife does majority of the work. She does more than me, for sure, on a daily basis. But even just me trying to help and support her, it's so difficult. Because as a man, my natural instinct is I just want to work. I just want to work and provide for them in that way. But you can't just do that all the time. Like if you want to be there, if you want to be present, if you want to be a good dad, you have to be there, right? You have to be there emotionally. You have to be in the present. And it's so tough. It's not easy. It's definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I'm just like tired all the time. Just like all the time I'm tired. Even now I wanted to go to bed, but I'm like, this is the only time I can film a video. So here we are. So yeah. I know what the next one is. So number 9, becoming a father is the best decision that I've ever made in my entire life. So this one is the complete opposite kind of 8, whereas 8 is sort of like the more negatives, but 9 is, it's the best thing in the world. If I'm not saying you have to have kids. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. But if you're someone that does, or maybe you're looking forward to it, the happiness it brings you it's the best thing in the world. It's like, I don't want to get choked up here, but it's this like level of love that you don't understand until it happens. There is this mini version of you, a tiny human being that's helpless, and they rely on you for everything, and you love them with all your soul, and you would give up your entire life for them in an instant without even thinking. And it's a wonderful thing. And the way that I describe this to people is, imagine that your happiness as a human being is on a scale from 0 to 10. So maybe your car gets broken into, you lose a relationship, you get into an argument with your parents, so your happiness is at a 0. That's like probably the worst day in your life. And then a 10 out of 10, maybe you get like a raise at your job, you get accepted into university, you get a new boyfriend or girlfriend, you're elated. It feels like bliss, and that's like a 10 out of 10 in terms of happiness. When you have kids, that baseline level of unhappiness, it now extends from 0 to -10. You reach this level of unhappiness and frustration and anger that's you've never had before. However, on the flip side, your happiness barometer, it increases from 10 to like 50. And so your range of emotions in the negative sense sucks. You're a lot more angry, you're a lot more irritable, you're a lot more unhappy, all those types of emotions. But on the flip side of that, the positives that it gives you, you reach these profound levels of happiness and fulfillment that's just amazing. And I can't put it into words. One of the best experiences is when I come home from work and I put my key in the door and I open the door and I step into my hallway. I hear Dada. And then my daughter would come running from the living room to the front door and give me a hug. And I remember feeling like this is the best thing in the entire world. This is worth everything. This is worth $1 million, this one moment in time. And I remember I started recording all these moments with my phone because they meant so much to me. Just this little person running, screaming Dada, and giving me a hug at the end of the day. You just reach that 50 out of 50 in terms of happiness, and it's the best thing in the world. Okay, let's go on to 10, because this is interesting. So 10 is HALT, HALT, which is an acronym for hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. These trigger addictive behaviors and poor decision making. So this is related to my whole gambling addiction type of stuff. So I can't remember who it was. I remember listening to some therapist, and they talked about this acronym called HALT. And that when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, you're more likely to make a poor decision. So if you are an alcoholic, you're more likely to grab a beer. If you are a gambling degenerate like me, you're more likely to place a bet. So whatever your negative behaviors are, or whatever your addictions or compulsions are in your life, remember this idea of HALT. Are you hungry? Are you angry? Do you feel lonely? And are you tired? If you can keep those 4 things at bay, you're less likely to fall back to these negative or bad decisions that you're addicted to. And I thought this was like a very simple concept, but it remained sticky. It kind of stuck in my mind as a mental model. And so I always kind of like go back to that. So when I get people asking me about quitting gambling, how did I break my gambling addiction? I always remind them, hey, think about this acronym, HALT, right? Think about it late at night when you want to place a bet or when you want to grab a drink or whatever your negative behavior is. Are you hungry? Are you angry? Do you feel lonely? And are you tired? Try to satisfy those 4 things and it will definitely help you. 11. Psychedelics open the mind to new possibilities and perspectives. So this is probably one of my favorite ones on this list. I can talk about psychedelics for hours, as many of you guys know. It's something that I am so passionate about. I support and I am all in favor for legalization, use, safety, decriminalization, everything, like the whole spectrum. However, I also try to remind myself that I am very biased when it comes to the subject. And so when I write down that psychedelics open the mind to new possibilities and perspectives, this is based on my own anecdotal stories of microdosing and macrodosing psychedelic mushrooms. And it has helped me in so many ways. There's 2 big factors there. The first was confronting my ego. So if you've never embarked on a psychedelic trip before, if you go high enough in terms of the dose, you get to this point called ego dissolution, or the ego dissolves, or ego death. It's like this destructive phenomenon where you have to face your ego, and it's like soul crushing. And this is horrifying in the moment, but it makes you a better person. And I was someone who used to be incredibly arrogant. And it humbled me. It really humbled me. I'm still pretty confident in my abilities, but it brought me down a couple pegs that I really needed. And it gave me this perspective on my life. And it helps me identify where I'm lacking, my faults, the mistakes I've made. And it's kind of like this teaching moment. It's very strange. And this is why I mean it opens your mind to these new possibilities, because you can't really get there with anything else. I've heard of people reaching these psychedelic states with breath work and extreme meditation. I've tried both. I've never reached anything like that. Psychedelics has been the only thing that has worked for me, to taking me to these existential places of consciousness. So again, I have to be very tricky. I have to be careful here that I don't let my personal bias overpower what I'm going to say. But how about this? I just hope that this substance will hopefully one day become decriminalized. It will become legal, as there are no physical side effects other than if you have schizophrenia in your family. Other than that, there's nothing. You can't overdose. There's no physical addiction. Like there's nothing. I can go days, weeks, months, years without ever having a trip. So hopefully one day it will be available to those in need, especially those that have these mental health, PTSD, depression, anxiety disorders, because that's where they're incredibly beneficial. Okay, 12. If you can't find high-value friends, listen to podcasts with high-value people. Now this one is cool. You know that quote, that really old quote, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Show me your friends, and if you have 9 losers, you will soon be the 10th. This is it's almost commonplace now. Just think about who are the people you spend the most time with. They will rub off on you. Their tendencies, their mannerisms, their habits, the way they speak, the way they act, the way they talk. You might not be willing to admit that, but they will. It does rub off on you. And that's where this old quote remains true. And so I was thinking about it, like, what if you're someone that's in like a small town and you don't have many friends, there's not many people. Like, how do you find high value people? if you come from a tiny town or village. And I was thinking, like, just listening to podcasts with high value individuals for hours upon hours upon hours per week, it's almost as if I'm spending time with them. And what I realized that a lot of these ideas have rubbed off onto me. And so let's state them. For example, you guys can criticize this list all you like, but we'll have Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Andrew Huberman, Lex Friedman, Chris Williamson, like all these different guys who do podcasts. I spend hours upon hours listening to them. So I am essentially kind of spending time with them, and their ideas have rubbed off on me. And if you lack that ability to find high value people around you, you can use podcasts as a proxy to find high value people digitally. And it will help. Definitely like meeting people in person for sure is better, but at least this way it's something, right? It's just something that can help you. Oh yeah, and probably add Jocko to that list, add Goggins to that list, and a bunch of more. I listen to so many people. I don't know. The list is never ending. And what was that? That was 12. So 13. Oh, here we go. What are you optimizing for? So this is a great question that I got from Chris Williamson from the Modern Wisdom podcast. And he'll ask a lot of his guests, what are you optimizing for? And this is like a great question to ask yourself, because then you can really think about your life and what you're doing and why you're doing it. What are you optimizing for? What am I optimizing for? Like, how am I optimizing my life and what is it for? And so I think about this a lot. And I've identified, I'm lucky. I know what my purpose is. I know what my passion is in life. And so I am optimizing my life towards that. And that is my business as like, I guess, an entrepreneur or whatever you want to call it. And I sort of have like the Alex Hormozy sort of opinion on this, is that I love to work. I love my work. If I was on a beach sipping, I don't know, pina coladas or something, I'd be thinking about my work. I'd much rather be here working on stuff that I love than sitting on some beach in the sun reading a book. I don't care for that. So again, what are you optimizing for? Are you optimizing so that in retirement you can lay on the beach and read a book and sip a pina colada? Then sure, that's great for you. But what am I optimizing for? It's my work. I love my work so much, and I'm optimizing my life so that one day I can spend all my working hours on the work that gives me fulfillment and passion and provide for my family. Because that's like the dream, in my opinion. Because we spend so much of our life working, slaving away in the rat race, that once you find something that you're truly passionate about, a business, a side project, it could be a job too, that's fine. Again, what are you optimizing for? And just ask yourself that question. And then it really helps you with the steps required to get there in your everyday life. Again, great question from Chris Williamson. Let's keep going. 14, create multiple sources of income. So this one is kind of common in the entrepreneurial space, especially with YouTube. You don't want to rely on AdSense. You don't want to rely on super chats or memberships or tips or donations, or you want to spread yourself out. But the main reason this idea is on my list is because of COVID. Think about COVID and the lockdowns, right? If you had a job that was deemed non-essential, or you had a business like a restaurant, again, deemed non-essential, and some bureaucrat can shut that all down and take away your entire income, you need to learn from that lesson. And even though it didn't affect me because I have a day job along with all this YouTube stuff, But I saw firsthand people in like their 60s losing their restaurant a couple years from retirement, and they show up at my work. I remember talking to this old Italian guy that had a restaurant for like 35 years and it got shut down, and he couldn't afford to pay the rent anymore because he has no customers, and Uber Eats and DoorDash pays like hardly anything because so few people would order it, and so he had to shut it down. And this is exactly why you need to create multiple sources of income. Does that mean start a YouTube channel? No, you don't have to. Or start a business? No, you don't have to do that either. You can take your day job, but find a way to generate money elsewhere. It could be stocks. It could be something that pays a dividend. If you're American, some type of investment account, index fund, something. If you're Canadian, a TFSA, a tax-free savings account, where you can build or generate income outside of your day job. Or learn some type of skill that you could freelance with. So for me, buying a camera. I sold my Bitcoin, I bought a bunch of camera gear, started working at like these random gigs, doing these shitty jobs, helped my friend do some weddings, and here I am, right? Find a way to make $1 on the internet. Find a way to make $1 from investing. Just find a way for your bank account to get that other source of income. And then you can slowly work at it. Because again, if there's another black swan event in the future, like COVID, you're going to need that extra source of income. So try to get one. That was 14. So 15 is take the path of most resistance. So this is from my self-improvement days. Most people always take the path of least resistance, and you can see this everywhere. If you go to the mall and you see a staircase and an escalator, everyone takes the escalator. No one takes the stairs. It's easier to take the escalator. But this makes you weak if you make this decision in every aspect of your life. And so the way that I think about it is that I want to build a habit of taking the path of most resistance. The more you can choose the tough decision, the easier it becomes in the future. And you really learn this in like health and fitness, when you want to lose weight, for example. When you first learn about calories, macronutrients, how many calories are in carbs, proteins, fats, counting your macros, all that type of stuff. When you really get into that, like I was a super nerd with all this fitness stuff, you really learn about how your willpower truly will fail you. When you have to resist the cookies or resist the cake or resist the French fries or pizza, it's so hard. However, if you take the path of most resistance, where you say no to those things as many times as you can, you build up this almost like a muscle, and it becomes very natural for you. And so for me, I'm not perfect. I eat shitty food all the time still. But when it comes to other things in my life, working out, being disciplined, maybe not going to bed at a good time as of right now, but all these other aspects of my life, I always try to take the path of most resistance. And it's made me stronger because I used to be an incredibly weak and lazy person. And if you're weak and lazy and complacent and you're just sitting around, if you're someone like that, this is the idea that will really help you. Choose the salad and steak over the burger. Choose the stairs over the escalator. Choose the blueberries over the Skittles. Like whatever, choose the walk over PlayStation. Like whatever it is, choose the path of most resistance and it will help your life. Oh, this is a good one. This is a really good one. 16, call your parents with the intent to listen. This one's tough because a lot of people don't have great relationships with their parents, and some people aren't lucky enough to have their parents around. So I know I'm privileged in this sense. I have both my parents, both are great, both I can call, and both will pick up. And I love them both. But next time you call them, usually it's, or at least in my case, usually when you get older, you call them because you want to tell them something, or you need something, or something exciting has happened, but just call them for no other reason except for just to listen to them. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them how their day is. What have they been up to? And you'll be surprised at what, or at least for me, what they'll say, the stories they'll tell me. And it's nice because this doesn't just have to apply to parents. It could be other people that you love in your life, distant aunt, uncle, cousin, relative, sibling. Call them, but with the intent to listen. You know, it's like rare nowadays. It seems like just having this ability to listen. And it's nice, or at least for me, it's really nice to know that, you know, what they're up to. And it's funny because they'll appreciate it if you do. 17. Oh, go through your old possessions. Okay, so this came up 2 weeks ago. So behind me, there's all this clutter over here. So I went through all my old boxes that have been following me around when I've been moving. I think I've moved like 5 times in 10 years, I want to say. I've moved a ton in the past decade. And so I've had all these boxes that have been following me around from house to house to house with all my old possessions. And so I finally went through them. And I found all of my old Pokemon cards. And when I say old Pokemon cards, I mean like the ones from 1999, 98, or whatever that year was, where it's like Squirtle, Charmander, Bulbasaur, Pikachu, like the original 150. And me and my brother have a crazy collection, like crazy, thousands upon thousands of cards. And we've been going through them. I brought our collection up during Christmas, and me and my brother spent 4 days going through it. And we're still going through it right now. There's tons of stuff right behind me, and it's just ridiculous how many cards we have. And I was like, why don't we sell it? They've been in this box for 25 years, 23 years, just collecting dust. And I have a nephew, my brother has a son, I have 2 kids, and we can, maybe sell these Pokemon cards and do something for their future. So go through your old possessions. You may find a gem. I even found a board game. I have like a huge collection of board games as well. I found this obscure board game, and Tina sold it for I think it was like $500 or something. It was some board game that went out of print during COVID. It's just crazy, the stuff that you can find that might be worth some money. So go through your old possessions. You never know. I found my Nintendo too. NES and SNES. Let's see. So that was 17, possessions. 18, Sam Harris isn't a bad guy. So this one's kind of funny because usually I don't do deep dives into celebrities or well-known personalities online. This is one of the first times where I kind of jumped into the chaos that was surrounding Sam Harris and Twitter and X or whatever it was called. And so Sam Harris is this brilliant guy who is a atheist who I don't even want to describe him. He has like this meditation app as well, but just a brilliant dude. And he was on, I want to say Lex Friedman's podcast, and he said something that was pretty brutal and the internet crucified him for. And it was something about how he hated Donald Trump so much, and it didn't matter whatever was up, whatever negative was happening to Joe Biden and his son concerning a laptop, that all that doesn't matter because Donald Trump is such a greater evil that it trumps, no pun intended, all of those other negative qualities. I know I'm butchering this story. I'm trying to choose my words carefully. I don't want to get like flagged for something or demonetized again, YouTube. So yeah, I sort of jumped into that argument, and the internet killed him. They just mob mentality all piled up on Sam Harris. And at first I'm like, damn, that's pretty brutal, man. I obviously strongly disagree with what Sam said. Just because you think something is worse doesn't diminish the importance of something that also could be incredibly important too, or influential. Seems pretty obvious to me, but it seems like he was just blinded by his hatred towards this one guy in Donald Trump, which I get it. Trust me, I get it. And I have no teams, as one of these old things in my list. I don't believe in teams. I'm not left, I'm not right, conservative or liberal. I'm neither. I'm in the middle somewhere. I have no team that I root for or side with or vote for. But yeah, Sam Harris, he's not a bad guy, man. He made an error in judgment, I'm sure. Or maybe he doesn't believe so, but the rest of us definitely do. But you miss out on all the other great insight that he has on all these different topics. And again, I'm not doing him justice by explaining it well, because I'm not smart enough to explain guys like Sam Harris or Jordan Peterson. Like, these guys intellectually are just on another level, and I admire them, and I learn a lot from them. But when there is some controversy surrounding someone that you admire or someone that's in the public, don't be so quick to jump on with everyone else, right? Remember, the other 99% of that person is wonderful. So Sam Harris ain't a bad guy, believe it or not. 19. Oh, this is a good one. 19 is one word, and that is speed. So I learned this from Andrew Tate, another guy that people dislike and hate, all that type of stuff. I don't know if I ever talked about this, but I took Andrew Tate's Hustler University course, and I took it with an open mind. I took a couple of his courses, and I was like, okay, everyone hates this guy. He has this really beneficial business. I don't really care about his views about relationships or society or the Matrix or women, or I don't care. The guy's a brilliant entrepreneur. I'm sure he could teach me something. And I remember he had a chapter in one of his courses called Speed. And it was one of the best business lessons that I've ever heard in my entire life. And I've been to and listened to a ton of different business seminars and courses and lectures. And oh my God, this one simple concept of speed it's remained sticky. It's become one of my mental model constructs that I kind of have built in my mind. I always go back to. And it's very simple. Everyone is slow. Everyone is slow and lazy and takes forever to make decisions. And if you just take this concept of speed and apply it to your life, be first, be quick, be assertive, get after it. Don't waste time. Don't be lackadaisical. Don't be lazy. Like, do something, take action. If you just make decisions with speed, it will help you out in so many ways in your business. Of course, there are drawbacks as well if you rush an important decision. But the vast majority of the time, people are just sitting on ideas and they're not taking action. So I always remind myself when I'm getting complacent, just speed. Be first, be quick, do something, get up and do something. Just go. And there was a lot more in his course that some was garbage, some was definitely beneficial. But this one idea of speed again, it was really sticky and it's stuck around with me. And when I find myself sitting around scrolling on Instagram, or maybe I have an idea for a YouTube video or something, I always think about speed. And why am I sitting on this? What am I waiting for? And I just get up, I go, and I take action. So, great idea from Andrew Tate, speed. Number 20, gambling is voluntary taxation. So this is an idea that I came up with a couple years ago, and I've sort of refined it over the years when I've been thinking about this whole gambling thing. And it's pretty much a voluntary tax. That's exactly what it is. Because if you think about gambling, games at the casino, usually the house has a couple percentage points edge. And maybe some games like blackjack, you can use card counting to change that in your favor, but let's just take that out of the equation. Pretty much any type of game offered at a casino, you are playing at a disadvantage. So your odds to win on any wager are 49% or lower. So that means over a long enough period of time, you are going to lose. So all you are essentially doing is, depending on the game you're playing, you're adding like a 1%, 2%, 3%, 5% voluntary tax to your wealth for no reason at all, other than the dopamine hit that you get, which is one of the stupidest decisions you could ever make. It's just dumb. There's so much better things you could be doing with your time and your money. And gambling's horrible. It's especially now with all this sports betting stuff you see on these commercials, like for FanDuel and DraftKings. I see it all the time on the NBA. It's gross. And so the way that I thought about this is, man, everyone hates tax. No one likes high taxes, increased sales tax, increased income tax, property tax. There's tax on a car, then you sell that used car, there's more tax there too. Just everything gets taxed. And so when I thought about what if I view gambling as voluntary taxation? I'm just willingly taxing myself to play a game of cards. And so when I framed it that way, I really started to hate it. And I despised it. And that really helped me to motivate me to find a way to quit. So that was a good one for me, is gambling is voluntary taxation. Now let's finish this up. We're on 21. We got 3 more. Oh, this is a good one. So 21 is kind of funny. This one is called Don't Eat the Croissant. So this idea I got from Faraz Zahabi, who is a MMA coach, gym owner, and most notably, he trains George St. Pierre, or used to train George St. Pierre, GSP, who used to fight in the UFC. He was the welterweight champion for many years. And so Faraz has this great idea called Don't Eat the Croissant. You know the croissant is going to be delicious, it's going to be tasty, it's going to be buttery, but it's not worth it. The calories, the lack of nutrition, the detriment to your health, the way that you're going to feel after is all negative. And so he has a very simple idea. Just don't eat the croissant. And what you need to do is take that idea and sub out the word croissant and sub in one of the most tempting foods that you fall victim to. So that could be cake. Don't eat the cake. Could be cookies. Don't eat the cookies. Gummy bears, chocolate bars, fried chicken, pizza, ice cream, like whatever it is. Name the one tempting food that you have and ingrain this idea in your mind. Don't eat the croissant. And I say this to myself over and over and over and over. And it's funny because there's times where, like, my thing is having a coffee and like a chocolate croissant or some type of pastry, or like a muffin or something, like a chocolate chip muffin with like a coffee. I don't know, something like that. And I always remind myself, don't eat the croissant, Don't do it. And it's funny because I kind of laugh, but it gives me this extra motivation to not eat it. So it's this very obscure trick, again, a mental model that has stuck with me. And so I figured it was worth rehashing out the next time you're thinking about eating one of your guilty pleasures. 22 is stack the deck in your favor. So this idea I got from Ali Abdaal. Abdaal, is I say his name right? The YouTuber guy who was a junior doctor, I think, in the UK. And he has that part-timer YouTuber Academy course. Again, this was like a great idea that I gained from him, was stack the deck in your favor. Now, don't take this the wrong way. This doesn't mean to cheat or to rip anyone off. What it means is you need to find what are your unfair advantages or characteristics that you have as an individual, and how can you use them in your favor to stack the deck. So for example, for like me, for example, I was thinking about, okay, if I'm starting YouTube, I have this experience from video editing. I have this experience from working as a videographer. I have experience working at weddings, working at an aquarium I used to film for. I have my best friend is a full-time YouTuber. So it's thinking about like all of my unfair advantages that I have. Even my wife, Tina, she used to be a YouTuber like 10 years ago. She has like 20-something thousand subscribers, even still to this day. So I'm thinking like, what are all my unfair advantages I can kind of stack on top of each other? And that's how you can be successful. And so many people do the opposite. They think about their disadvantages. Oh, I was born here. Or I was born at this time. I don't have good parents, or I don't have money, or I don't have access to a camera, or I don't have resources, or I don't have education. Like, yes, those are very valid. And it's very unfair too, because life is a random roll of the dice. Like, I'm lucky to be in North America. I grew up on an island in Bermuda, and I came to Canada pretty much when I was like 5. How old are you when you go to senior kindergarten? 5? 6? 5? I'll say 5. So grew up on Bermuda, lucky enough, lived the rest of my life in North America. Again, that's an unfair advantage. Use that to stack the deck in my favor. But instead of looking at all of your inadequacies, everything you don't have, why life isn't fair, woe is me, if you just stop and focus on what do you have? Maybe growing up tough has given you discipline. Maybe you are self-motivated. Maybe you're very independent. Maybe you're strong-willed. Maybe you're extroverted. Like, those are positive qualities that you can use to, again, stack the deck in your favor. But you'll never be able to use them if you only focus on the negative. So I thought that was a really great idea that I learned from Ali Abdaal, is find out what you're good at, or what experiences, life lessons, attributes, or things that you've done, seen, or know that other people haven't, or other people can't do as well as you, and use it to your advantage. And last but not least, number 23, my final lesson that I learned from 2023. It's very simple, and it was take full accountability for your life. And this is a very simple concept that I got from that guy. I can't say his name. Is it Bill you? I'm gonna butcher his name. I'm not even gonna try. So anyways, take full accountability for your life. And this kind of relates to the Ali Abdaal part of stack the deck in your favor, is that if I get a video on YouTube deleted, it's my fault. If I get demonetized, it's my fault. If something bad happens at work, one of my investments go under, it's my fault. Everything I take on my shoulders. And the reason for that is because, again, you don't want to fall back to this victim mentality, because that is a huge trap. It's such a trap. And it's so easy to fall into because it's everywhere, especially on social media. If you just browse Instagram, you see traps everywhere. You see people living their best lives, flying everywhere in private jets, crazy cars, on all these wild vacations, living a life of luxury. And immediately your brain is going to think back to, again, your inadequacies as an individual. Well, that's not fair. How come I didn't do this? I was born at the wrong time. I don't have this friend. I don't have that connection. I don't have this resource. And it's just this complete waste of your time. But if you take full accountability, and the way Jocko Willink says this, he just says the word good. Like, my YouTube channel is failing, good. I'm not as financially successful as I want to be, good. Car is shit, good. Don't have good friends, good. My job sucks, good. Because if you take the accountability, all your energy and your focus and the things you're going to think about is how can you improve your life? How can you get out of this current situation? And that's how you make progress, and that's how you become successful. And if you think about it like this, like, imagine if your brain has 100 units of brain power, or 100 units to focus on. If you're using like 30 of those units up on negative shit, on the news, on things you don't have, other people, feeling sorry for yourself, so now you only have 70 units allocated left for yourself. But if you take full accountability for everything and you don't worry about all this woe is me negative shit, then you have 100 units to work on yourself. And if you can really grind that through, you can find a way to improve whatever aspect is going on in your life. And for me, this has been huge. This has been huge. Like, this morning, I woke up, had some pretty bad emails for my business, some demonetization issues, money issues, things weren't good. And I was down bad this morning. I was like, man, this is horrible. I've been doing this thing for like 4 years now, from 2019. Feels like I'm failing. Feels like I'm wasting my time. And I was just like down and out. But I took a minute to stop and I reminded myself, take full accountability. Something on YouTube was flagged, got a strike, demonetized. Well, that's my fault. I put the content out. No one told me to say this or talk about this subject or post that video. It's all on me. So why does thinking about, oh, that's not fair, all these other creators make all this money? How does that help me? It doesn't help me at all. But as soon as you take accountability, I'm like, okay, that's my fault. Demonetize, that's my fault. Strike on my channel, that's my fault. AdSense is down like 40%, 50%, whatever, that's my fault. What am I going to do about it moving forward? And that's where this becomes so powerful. As after lunch, I was like, you know what? It's fine. Bring on the adversity. Bring it. It's only good for me. I can only learn from this. And so I had an amazing day. I had such a productive day today. I made a ton of videos, worked on a bunch of those problems that I had, hashed things out. Had a great day today. Wonderful day. It was a holiday. Spent time with the kids and the wife. And then at the end of the night, I was so inspired and motivated that I started my day off so shit in the gutter that I was able to just dig myself out of there because I took full accountability for everything in my life. And then it just helps you so much. And when I was tired and I wanted to throw in the towel and go to bed because the kids were finally down and I finally had this super long day, I could make this video. And it was only because I took accountability for all that garbage that happened earlier, and I turned my negative day into such a massive positive one. And now I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I got all those things done. And I was able to record this video too. So that's pretty much it. That is everything I learned from 2023. And I hope that any one of these ideas, mental models, or concepts can help out your life in some way. So that's pretty much it, and I'll see you next time.